surprised given that, when the Fed said that they weren't going to be increasing interest rates for a little bit, they're gonna hold off, or what, that's what it sounded like to me.
Oh, they're gonna raise in December on the 19th, and then they're gonna
hold.
why they're not gonna do it anymore until they get data.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw that the market had bumped, and I thought that was going to help a little bit of a longer, because at this point, they probably already, the market's probably already priced in that next.
Joe, I apologize for
Yes.
spelling your name wrong.
Point 25 basis points?
25.
You got Joe right.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, this means I gotta redo this all over again.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to stay behind you. I swear, I'm just waiting for it so I can turn it on.
It just sends you.
I know, you could sense that, couldn't you?
Chiefs versus the Chargers. NFL.
Howdy.
Hi, how are you?
Not bad.
Chiefs are
Better than I deserve.
That's an okay problem to have.
Yes.
Having it be 6:30, I will call this meeting to order. I will ask that all cell phones be turned off or on vibrate. And yes, we do have a quorum present. This time, we can all rise, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those that have not had the chance, if you could just look at the minutes of the meeting for a minute.
Pardon me, I beg your indulgence?
Guilford time, Tim.
When you're early, it's over for you.
Yeah. Maybe it's it. You're not gonna be here next week, correct? Okay. Okay, any comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? And hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of December 6th.
Second.
Seconded by Jack. Any discussion? And hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, and 2%. Okay. Any comments? comment from members of the public? Hearing none. Report of the elementary school subcommittee. The Guilford Elementary School Subcommittee met on Wednesday, the 5th of December, in the conference room at Guilford Elementary School. In attendance were Danielle Baldock, principal, Sean Walsh, the assistant principal, Kirk Beitler, superintendent of schools, and Scott Isabel, the assistant superintendent of schools for business. Budget committee members present were Tracy Corbett, Kristen Snow, Joe Warnick, and myself, and I apologize for spelling your names wrong. Also present was Sue Green. The following are clarifying notes to our discussion of line item changes to the GES proposed budget. The salary elementary school teachers will see an increase of $85,858. $31,412 of the increase is the transfer of the salary of the curriculum director. The rest of the increase is for the collective bargaining agreement. The salaries elementary school aides and assistants will see a decrease of $26,642 with the reduction of one full-time equivalent Title I assistant teacher. Textbooks elementary schools will see an increase of $1,800. New equipment elementary school will see an increase of $11,999 to help alleviate space issues in the classrooms. Replacement of equipment elementary school will see a decrease of $10,420. This goes to replace tables, chairs, and projectors in the classroom. They are also looking at replacing a broken OAE screener in the nurse's office. Student activity stipends will see a decrease of $900 with the elimination of 3 stipends. The salary elementary school guidance will see an increase of $53,126 with the addition of 1 guidance position. You will see a reduction in the high school budget of 1 teacher's position. The elementary school librarian will see an increase of $3,835 with the proposal to add 5 days in the summer. The remaining increase is for a proposed 3% salary increase. The salary elementary school principals. This account will see a reduction of $17,478 with making the assistant principal position to 1/3. 1/3, pardon me. The salary elementary school secretaries will see a decrease of $553 with reducing 1 secretary's position by 16 days during the summer, correct, Danielle?
That's correct.
The increase between the current budget and the proposed budget is $90,863. $85,858 of that increase is for the collective bargaining agreement and the shifting of the curriculum directors into the schools. Joe Warning made a motion to accept the proposed school board budget of $2,622,213 and was seconded by Tracy Corbett. The motion passed 4-0 and was brought forth to the budget committee. Any questions? Peter?
You saw my question.
I saw your handwriting.
Out of the corner of your eye. New equipment for 57,410. Does it give a 57,410?
Is that the built-in?
That's the built-ins.
There's no closets in those rooms?
Yeah, there's no closets, no.
Closets are walking,
There are some classrooms that have closets that have storage space, and there are some that don't. They're like storing, they have storage along the heaters, walk-in doors.
And the other question was, what is an OAE screener?
It's
Hearing.
It's your hearing,
A hearing.
and the problem is one side of it doesn't work, the other side does. And I think it was probably the same one that was tested on me when I was in elementary school in the 70s. It's that old.
What did they spend last year that, who was that one there?
That's the one. Last year they were budgeted for 25.
What page is that?
Page 2 of 7. So click on that. That one right there.
Current budget that they're spending right now is 25,420.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was one low, and then what did we buy last year that drove it up so high?
Danielle?
So what we were trying to do is look at each of the classrooms and on a schedule, replace a number of desks, a number of chairs. So this current year, we also did library curtains, or the shades, excuse me, and library tables. And we also replaced a number of broken tables and broken chairs. So that was the 25,000. So it's being spent on currently.
Okay, so next year you wanna spend 15, so it's a decrease of 10.
Correct.
Here. Sorry, Danielle had requested 28,800 in this category, and at our meeting, we asked her, what's more important to you, this 28 or the 12 for the cabinets? And she said the 12 for the cabinets. So we cut $10,400 out of her request, down to $15,000. The reason we didn't cut more is because we made a commitment to her last year to get on this replacement cycle for some of this furniture. And I personally was a little skeptical at first, so I met Danielle for a tour, and she brought me through all the classrooms and showed me all the mismatched and broken furniture that clearly hadn't been invested in for many years, as you can see by these poultry numbers.
Low numbers,
Yeah.
year after year.
So we're playing a little bit of catch up, but we did make a significant cut in what she had requested, but it's still enough money where she can continue to replace furniture that needs to be replaced.
So next year might be a like amount? Continue to play catch up?
I would suspect that it being a rotation, yes.
Yeah.
Jack?
I have just two informational questions more than anything else. The curriculum director, it's not student-facing, but teacher-facing, right? They don't work with students on picking out a curriculum, do they?
Correct. It's teachers, it's professional development, title
Okay.
grants,
And then,
and teachers.
last week I asked what the high school guidance counselors did, and they said that they helped them pick a universe of colleges to apply to, course selection, prep for a job after. What does a guidance counselor do in the elementary school?
So she works with every classroom. She goes in and pushes in for curriculum. So she'll do social emotional curriculum. She'll do Kelso's Choices, which is another curriculum for social and emotional behavior. She also does lunch groups. She meets with parents on any issues that children may have. So she's a big role there.
Thank you.
How many guidance counselors are currently at the elementary school?
One.
One now, and you wanna add
One.
one? Two guidance counselors.
Correct.
Is there a school psychologist that flexes in, or what's the?
It's shared across the district, the school psychologist that we just hired this current year. And mostly that is for testing. She tests children. So there's not a lot of counseling that happens or at that position.
Skip.
Okay, page 6, contracted services, third line item down. Just notice that it's bouncing, 6,300, 13,2, 54, just keep wobbling around, an average.
Line item are you at?
It is, again, page 6,
The office equipment?
yeah, contracted services office equipment. This year, what's being proposed is an increase of $3,000 to basically 10,700. What is different from last year, and how come we keep seeing this bouncing?
So this is the copier contract.
Right.
So this is a new contract this year, and so the office copier contract, because there is one copier in the office area has the $5,058, attached to it, but if you go to the line, which is on page, 1 of 7, the CS instructional equipment, you'll see a decrease of 10,000 there, and that is the copier project again, is there's 2 copiers outside of the office that are being, positioned in that. So, that's the nature of the copier contract that
Okay.
might be fluctuating.
Sure. I'd just like to add to Danielle, the front line for 3140 in that category is the attendance, management system that we purchased this year as well. So that's split across all 3 schools, the elementary, middle, and high school.
And one question on the copier, is that all-inclusive, maintenance? Does that include consumables other than paper?
Brenda, did you hear the question, Brenda?
Is it all maintenance?
Yeah,
Is it all-inclusive?
all-inclusive maintenance.
Unless we, go over our allocated amount, and we took the highest amount of the last 2 years, and then build in like an extra,
So what is
I
that?
think 5,000 copies, so if it's not inclusive, it'll be maybe a $200-300 overage, but I cannot imagine going over that amount.
Okay, so it's 5,000 pages per month, per week, per year?
Oh. The overage?
Right, is this being done on a per page
No, it's-
basis?
This one's, calculated for the year,
Calculated on what?
for the total number of copies for the year.
Okay, that's what I was looking
Across
for.
each of the schools, so.
Okay.
there's the elementary has their cap, the middle school has their cap, and then the high school has their cap.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
It should all be, I think it should be good this year.
Okay.
Anything else? Peter?
Kirk, the frontline purchase of that, so that makes up the bulk of the additional difference, so I take it the rest of it is gonna be similar to last year's, except for the frontline. Is that, I forget, we talked about frontline and the high school. Is that a contract?
It's a yearly fee, and this is to manage substitutes, so
Right.
if a teacher or staff member is absent, they call into the system then gets a substitute to
So
come in.
that will be the 3140 will be an annual fee for that service.
Right.
Across all 3 schools.
Right.
Okay.
And last week I gave you a sheet on the reduction in staffing that we saw based on this purchase, and the savings that we saw, due to that.
Anything else? And seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to accept the proposed, budget for the Guilford Elementary School of $2,622,213.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Joe. Any further discussion? And seeing none, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? The ayes have it. On to the middle school. The Guilford Middle School Subcommittee met on Tuesday, the 4th of December in the conference room at Guilford Middle School. In attendance were Peter Sawyer, GMS Principal, Sean Walsh, GMS Assistant Principal, Kirk Beitler, Superintendent of Schools, and Scott Isabel, the Assistant Superintendent of Schools for Business. Budget Committee members present were Kristen Snow, Tim Sullivan, and myself. The salary middle school teacher will see an increase of $110,807. $58,807 of the increase is the transfer of the salaries of the curriculum director and the athletic director. The rest of the increase is for the collective bargaining agreement. Contractual services, instructional equipment, middle school, will see a decrease of $7,950. The $13,610 represents last year's actuals. The coaching salaries for middle school boys will see a decrease of $1,050. There will be 2 fewer coaches at Guilford Middle School. Coaching salary girls middle school will see a decrease of $2,500. There will be 3 fewer coaches at Guilford Middle School. Salary summer program middle school will see an increase of $2,008. The increase is for 1 more session of summer theater camp. The salaries for the summer camp are offset by the revenues. Supply summer program middle school will see an increase of $1,475. The increase is for 1 more session of the summer theater camp, and the expense for the summer camp are offset by revenues. Library services will see an increase of $1,078. The increase is for adding 5 days in the summer at a total of $670. The remaining increase is for proposed 3% salary increase. Principal salaries middle school will see an increase of $24,775. There is a proposed 2.5% salary increase, while some of the increase is to increase the assistant principal position from a half-time position to 2/3 position, and there was a reduction of 1/3 in the elementary school budget. The increase between the current budget and the proposed budget is $123,081. $110,807 of that increase is for the collective bargaining agreement and the shifting of the curriculum and athletic directors into the schools. Kristen Snow made a motion to accept the proposed school board budget of $2,466,903 and was seconded by Tim Sullivan. The motion passed 3-0 and was brought forth to the budget committee. Any questions? And welcome.
Just a slight clarification, the assistant principal position, I think is going from 2/3, going up to 2/3.
It's going up to
half,
2/3.
So it's not a 1/3, it's a 1/6.
Okay. Sorry.
Or what,
No, it's got 11.6. Peter?
Informational only, what are the teams, 2 fewer coaches, three fewer coaches and girls and boys? What are the teams that are not coaches or?
One of them is an intramural position that we're not gonna fill, another one is a, we have run intramurals. Another one is a track assistant, which was not filled either, and one can fill that. Another one was an alpine ski assistant, I believe, too.
Yeah, and I think in just looking at the budget, I think those 2 positions, the outdoor track and the alpine, we're not eliminating the positions. I think what's happened is in the past, those positions were split stipend, and then we're kind of re-entered as 2 separate, smaller positions. And so what we're doing is really cleaning out the split positions and holding on to the whole positions. So those are, 3 track coaches or 4 track coaches or 4 alpine coaches. We don't have that many. I can't find it.
He has triple filling those positions.
Anything? Any questions?
Just a comment.
Go ahead, Skip.
I've talked about bin items in reference to manufacturing environments, how it could be applied here to school budget or municipal budget. And I would say that on page 1, teaching supplies for the middle school, 56-100-37, those are certainly bin items as far as I'm concerned. just it's a good example.
And are you saying you like how they listed all the stuff in there?
Well, yeah, but in this case, the amounts are probably so low compared to other things that I keep asking for. As far as not seeing narratives, for instance, utilities were split, Kirk gave me a split out of some of those that I had asked for before. I mean, they're much larger numbers, and so instead of just the verbiage, now we've got the numbers, but stuff like this, I do understand that, hot glue sticks, that's a bin item. I don't need to know, 467 at 37 cents a piece, so I'm good here.
Anything else? What's up there? In hearing nothing, entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the proposed middle school budget of $2,466,903.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Second by Tracy. Any further discussion? In hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? The ayes have it. And now I turn the floor over to Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, we met, with the, members of the subcommittee for the high school, budget, as well as several members of the administration, including, Superintendent Feitler, high school principal Sparazzo, assistant principal Tim Goggin, and, athletic director Rick Pitino. There's about, if I'm not mistaken, 17 sheets to this budget. 12, excuse me, 12 sheets to the budget. And so for the sake of time constraints, we did not, thoroughly review those items that were level funded with, zeros. So if there's any members of the budget committee who would, like to take a second look at those, and have questions on them, that would be appropriate. So the budget preparation worksheets are for the 47 accounts and the 57 accounts as proposed by the school board. And what it is the 57 accounts are these accounts where we're sharing the costs between the middle school and the high school. And so they're broken out as separate accounts, and they'll be at the end of the budget. We began with the discussion of the staffing issues and requirements versus the high school population expected to remain relatively flat to lower, and some labor savings netted from sharing staff with the middle school, as in the 57 accounts. And the technology improvements and software subscriptions. So the frontline system is saving a lot of money on the ability to eliminate secretary. And we'll see later on in the minutes where it's broken down for you as to what those savings are. So we had a lot of fractional units being shared with middle school are being transferred to the elementary school. And so for more accurate budgeting purposes, the athletic director and curriculum director have been added portions of their salaries transferred to the middle school. We just went over that, so you know where that went. We moved on to a discussion of the substitute teacher budgeting issues, and it showed a substantial increase in proposed budgeting for substitutes, and it's a 12.5% increase based on increasing the item to the current actual cost. There's been a lot more need for substitutes than might have been anticipated last year. There were some discussions as to the full-time educators having elective medical procedures at certain points of the calendar year to enhance their periods of time off running into the summer recess or retirement. And the superintendent, though, has assured us that that personal time and sick time off is being taken in strict accordance with the collective bargaining agreement. But there was some sentiment at the staff at least be advised that some of these events may be disruptive to the individual students and to the effective teaching and comprehensive completions in the near academic calendar year end of the curriculums. The cost of substitutes is generally $75 a day and is expected to be somewhat ameliorated by the new, more comprehensive automated software system for scheduling days off for in-service training or personal and sick time. This is the frontline system. It was pointed out earlier in the middle school budget. It was noted that the quality full-time substitutes are hired for extended periods of full-time educators being out of work on sick leave, and that they earn the entry-level full-time educator's salary when taken on as a full-time substitute for fully anticipated extended sick leave periods. I wasn't sure about whether or not that included full-time benefits. We might wanna.
No,
It does not.
I don't think so.
And those, longer-term, full-time substitutes who are hired at the low pay, do they get benefits as well?
Yes, the longer.
They do, so they'll be receiving benefits as well, okay? Then we went on, we talked about the, line 54, 347, contracted services, equipment, and there's a 12.2% proposed increase in these by, $8,885. Some of these items that are most affecting the proposed budget are the initial cost of the line, are the Z-Space software that provides for screens to share virtual reality. Biology students can dissect specimens in virtual reality, saving the cost of obtaining and disposing of specimens. There's a new high-resolution microscope in the catalog of these items that is another large expense item. Some of the costs of these subscriptions are likely to accrue at about $5,000 a year, 5.1K. The STEM curriculum labs are often producing several streams of hazmat waste material. So our costs to have these waste, this trash removed are increasing. The high school also leases swimming pool time for the training of the Red Cross approved lifeguarding and water safety certifications. It was noted that some members of the full budget committee would like these catalogs to have numbers, dollar numbers attached to the items, especially the ones driving the proposed cost increases. We went down to the 556047 line, the Laconia Academic and Alternative Education budget. The school board is proposing to budget for 6 students in these spots for this high-set alternative education to accommodate some students not feeling entirely comfortable in the mainstream education at the high school. High-set would be more familiarly remembered as being called the GED, but is now referred to as with this newer term. The line is proposed to be increased by 55% or $3,900, expected to be a cost of about $7,000 per person. Down to the next line that we discussed was on new equipment. The school board's proposing to increase the amount by over 100% from $115,000 to $15,000. The main driver here is this $4,700, that will be incurred in acquiring the Google Expeditions Virtual Reality 10 Classroom Kit. The kit includes testing materials. This system is not expected to generate any yearly subscription costs, but there would likely be some future lesser costs for newer test kits. There's also a proposal to purchase a new baritone sax at $2,000 to be added to the music programs. It's a large increase for new equipment in that respect. Okay, replacement equipment is another line. There are to be 5 replacements of these LCD projectors. They're the ones that beam onto the screens or the walls from up behind the classroom. And so some of those are shot, and they're gonna replace 5 of them. There's a digital microscope scheduled for $2,000, which again is just another improvement in the ability for the biology, I suppose, to see more detail in their, in the research of what they're studying. There's to be a continuing laddering out of math, graph, and calculators, which is expected to replace another 20 old ones with new units that will be retired. There was some discussion of students acquiring their own calculators, but it was thought not a strong idea versus the whole class likely getting more effective instruction on virtually the same equipment. There are some de minimis increases for student activities. These are not the sports, but they're the clubs and that kind of thing, and the stipends for the adult mentor coaches. Longer discussions ensued on student athletics. Some larger costs were noted for football helmet and shoulder pad unit replacements. This is a near 60% increase to, of $550. There was a discussion of the athletic trainer position and its associated costs. Some inquiries on the merits of varsity bass fishing. You know, this is one of those things. It sounds, on the face of it, it sounds a little ludicrous, but the program continues to gain interest, and our particular region here in New Hampshire has a strong economic dynamic proceeding out of this sporting activity, and our local marinas may benefit even as they provide very strong tax revenues to the town. The town also generally gets a lot of revenue boost from the boat registrations from non-residents. So there is an interest in the general public for this type of recreation. I note the town seal, which is emblematic of summer recreation, such as bass fishing perhaps. Okay, there were other discussions about the relationships with football and hockey with Belmont, and the subcommittee was assured that the sharing of these costs is very equitable, and that the volunteer efforts, especially underwriting the Belmont hockey and football participations by the people of Belmont, is very admirable and well-founded, and they're doing a great job over there. There was some discussion on the merits of pay to play for some sports, and the athletic director made a strong argument for equal treatment of all the students and their parents in participating in high school athletics. His opinion resonates with some that any pay to play would be unfair to some student athletes. There are plenty of ancillary costs for the parents to carry as it is, some more glaringly costly in some of the sports such as in golf or skiing. One cost that was also discussed was that of the athletic trainer and how that relieves the sports budgeting of some other possibly more costly services as on-site EMTs and keeping an ambulance on site at games. Most of the lesser increased budgeting costs associated with coaching salaries of varsity sports teams are part of the collective bargaining agreement. We went on and discussed the summer school program, and there's a 3% proposed salary increase, which is not a collective bargaining mandate. Pardon my grammar there. Salary guidance, we got a 3.08% increase per the 3% collective bargaining agreement. The responsibilities of the guidance personnel were inquired of and discussed. Testing. Funding is included for the pre-SAT service for the 11th graders and several 10th graders who, for whatever reason, want to get in there early on the practice pre-SAT. And there's an $800 decrease, however, in the fact that the state of New Hampshire is now going to pick up the cost of the writing skills portion of the regular actual SAT. As proposed by the Guilford School Board, a 3% salary increase for the high school nurse. This is not a collective bargaining obligation associated with health supplies or associated to this nurse's office are the health supplies, and they were level funded. In curriculum development, we have this cost for outside sourcing of educational professionals and managers to actually come into our school, our Guilford High School, and assist in creating and modifying the curriculums in all course offerings. Well, the cost has a collective bargaining agreement guideline cost of $14,844 for 68 days of service. The line is also reflecting $2,169 for the participation in the Frontline Technology Platform, which is expected to enhance curriculum development strategies and planning. The latter sum is a subscription cost prorated to what portion of the Frontline platform will be consumed in curriculum development activity. The professional development training was level funded. Collective bargaining agreement mandated a $400 per unit of reimbursement. First come, first served until expended. The course reimbursements, the administrator development and the support staff professional developments are proposed to be level funded. At library, we have a 3% salary increase is proposed, but not mandated by the collective bargaining agreement. Other library services are proposed to decline by about 9% against the technology platforms becoming increasingly reliant on, which is reducing overall costs. The e-book costs are for actual physical e-books the library has as one of their resources. The two items nearly offset each other. In audiovisual, there's a proposed level of level funding of these teacher requested materials to support 21st century learning and other materials as recommended by the American Library Association, and where these catalogs pop up in the overall budget. Is that right? And reviewers. Yes, I'm sorry, excuse me, I lost my spot. So there's a American Library Association and other reviewers. The high school is going to be going through its 10-year period full accreditation process, and it may be felt that cutting-edge tech platforms and software will be supportive of the process. AV replacements, they propose a 160% increase to $1,600 from $1,000 last year, and its expectations for the need to replace 7 pieces of audiovisual equipment. Well, this is a large expense increase. The Guilford School Board represents that it has scaled back this request versus there still being need in the high school library that might be postponed. The salary for the principals, the board proposes non-collective bargaining agreement 2.5% increases for the high school principal and the assistant principal. The salaries of the secretary and support staff, the Guilford School Board is proposing 3% salary increases for staff. There is a large cost decrease in this line as for the Frontline Technology Platform, replacing the 10-month substitute teacher coordinator. A full-time position completely removed. So the high school will bear the 1/3 cost of $3.1K annually for the Frontline subscription. The rest will be split between the middle school and elementary school. The reduced employee cost is calculated at $1,500 and minus the Frontline cost is there is an anticipated total savings in the budget system-wide of $6,500,000. Below, the superintendent has provided this cost savings breakdown of the secretary being relocated to another position, not in the high school, and that's in another budget. NEA SC school accreditation. There's a 9,000 proposed increase in this item. The Guilford High School is up for the decennial accreditation process that will be mostly conducted during the spring of 2020. The previous year's costs are attributable to budgeting for ongoing preparations for the accreditation processes and compliances and some miscellaneous review costs that occur annually and each 3 years. This line is expected to return to a $1 level placeholder over the next several years, as the 10-year thing will be completed. There's contracted services for the principal's office and equipment is a 10.6% increase of $1,360. The increase is almost all attributable to an assessment to this line of the office's portion of participation in sourcing of service from the new Frontline Technology Platform. The copier service contract is also a major cost item. The phone bill proposed cost is going up by $500 versus the actual amount spent in the current fiscal year. All of the lines in the budget request for the principal's office are level funded. The Principals Association dues, professional service, books for teaching staff, reference materials, etc. has declined by 2.3%. The sum of $18,000 is proposed by the Guilford School Board. This line is consistent with several other lines of the budget in terms of its long list of individual and small groupings of items. There was some discussion as to how this particular line has been broken out into the cost of these individual items. And the consensus of the subcommittee was that there are several members of the budget committee who would prefer to see these lines similarly broken down with individual costs accounted for. Where these catalogs pop up in the overall budget. The subcommittee expressed its pleasure to the administrators on this particular line being so well defined and delineated. Thank you. Athletic transportation and field studies, that's field trips, of course. Athletic transportation costs are proposed as having a 6% one-year increase as against these being contracted service. There's a dearth of any competition in providers for this service. There was a lengthy discussion of the cost and underlying labor problems with school transportation at the full budget committee meeting on 12/6. The local economic situation and the likelihood that wage and benefit decompressions are continuing to unfold and widen. The difficulty for employers offering the 30-hour or less work week to factor in fringe benefits not provided to part-time labor versus what they pay in total cost per hour for 40-hour-a-week employees. This continues to foster the concept that the wage is the wage and that you should not have to pay $20 an hour for part-time labor, even while those in that labor have to bear some of the costs of living that full-time workers have included in their total benefit cost packages. The cost for field studies, old speak for field trips, is proposed to be level funded as there may be some capacity to slightly reduce the numbers of those events. The total high school proposed budget request for 2019 to 20 is then reduced by $58,440. This reflects the reduction in teaching staff as detailed in the first part of this report. Also, the savings from the frontline technology is deployed and participated in at the principal's office. We then moved on to discuss the 57 account issues. These are shared services between the middle school and the high school. And so line 513057 is the middle school, high school librarian, one full-time educator position, but divides equally, but generally is principally housed in the main office of the high school library. This line is proposed to increase by 3%, a proposed 3% salary increase of $2,418, totaling $83,003. This is not a CBA increase. Divided in half between the two schools, the accounts will be costing $41,502 each. The high school portion will be proportionally contributed to by the Gilmington participation versus our area agreement. Also, in the secretary that was moved out to the that was moved from the calling in the sick days. They've been moved over to special education, so we have 12 months a year in that position, proposed 3% wage increase not mandated by the collective bargaining agreement. It's a $1,476 increase, and the same situation exists as to the sharing of this proposed $50,000, and it would be $25,256 for each school for 2019-2020. And then the meeting was, of course, adjourned at 7:15. Well, so it went on for quite a while, and my minutes are lengthy. I'm sorry if it's too much. And if there's any other questions.
Any questions?
I just have a question of what the $14,000 expense for NEASC, what is that for?
Yes, good evening. NEASC is the New England Schools and Colleges, so every 10 years, there's a group of 8 to 12 professionals that come out and rank you on 5 different standards: curriculum, community partners, and so we just went through a small little process to prep us for the visit of spring of 2020, when we'll be evaluated. That's the seal that you see on most letterhead for high schools. When you apply to colleges or go out into apply for a job, you want to have that seal to say that it is an accredited institution.
What is that money
Oh,
spent
oh, my
on.
fault, I'm sorry.
It's okay, no.
Housing, all the food, cause they stay here for 3 or 4 nights.
So we have the housing,
We
we
do.
do, okay,
Yeah, very expensive every 10 years.
wow. Didn't know that question.
Right.
Just going to curriculum development. I had occasion to meet your new full-time curriculum development director, 2-3 years ago. Loved everything he had to say, but what's the justification for having to bring in outside people if we have a full-time curriculum development director?
Is that, are you referring to the 68 days?
51-120-47, outsourcing of educational professionals and managers to come in and assist and assess creating and modifying the curriculum in all course offerings.
What is page, Brad?
7 of 12.
Pages aren't numbered.
The budget.
Curriculum
It's on the
development.
budget.
7 of 12.
Yep, 7 of 12, towards the bottom.
Okay, so the 68 days, entry level 218.30, is that what you're speaking
Yeah.
of? Okay, so those are summer days that we provide to our staff members, so we have about 50 staff members, and some of them will ask to come in and revise their curriculum, and work collaboratively with other staff members. So it's not outside people coming in, it's our own staff.
Okay, I'm just going with his.
Okay, well then,
That was good.
I was confused between that and the, I guess the assessment that's coming.
Yes. Two very different things.
Okay. I didn't get that quite straight in my head. So I can edit that out.
And my next question has really nothing to do with the budget, but concern from the town side. It says that the high school leases swimming pool time for training and Red Cross approved lifeguarding and water safety certifications. How many earn that, do you think, in the course of a year, roughly?
Anywhere from 10 to 20, it depends on how many sections we run. This year we plan to run 1 section and it caps at 10 students.
Don't suppose we could have Herb Green, the director of Parks and Rec, go down there and recruit, because we can't get people and we're trying to give them more money next year. And
Lakes Region
we're
wide,
putting
yeah.
20 a year, where are they? Cause they're not coming to the town.
I know some, actually, because I used to teach that course, so I do know some did go to the Guilford Beach, some go to Laconia as well.
So
But here
if
they,
Herb Green came over, could he recruit?
he absolutely could.
At least get the first shot at it.
Right.
And my last
We
comment,
discussed that same thing.
spreading hate and discontent the only way I can. I'd like to move to strike one sentence off the front page in the, 4th paragraph. There is some sentiment that the staff at least be advised that some of these events may be disruptive to individual students and the effective teaching and comprehensive completions in the near academic calendar and other curriculums. I think it's beyond the scope of the budget committee to be telling teachers, or anybody, when they can get elective surgery. If they're complying with the CBA, I just don't, this is an official record, and I don't feel that needs to be in there. And I know it was said, and there should be a record of it, I suppose, but I don't know that it needs to be in the record, with all due respect to the subcommittee. But
Well, I'm willing to strike that.
thank you, Tim, I appreciate that.
It was discussed, so I put it
And I
in there.
understand that, that's making an accurate record, but I don't know that's the purview of the budget committee to do. I was gonna ask for a vote. Dan, Tim?
Tim, you ruined his night.
All right, here we go.
Anything else? No, maybe.
Any other questions,
Go ahead. Yeah, Peter.
thoughts, inputs?
The field studies, field trips,
Page?
page 11 of 12. Is that 8152 include transportation, or is that just the cost of the field study itself if they go to? What's included in that?
That is all transportation. The 8152? Yes.
That's, so the cost of the field trip is, that's 8152 just for the field trips?
For the transportation.
Just transportation. Just for transportation, not for the cost of the field trip. Or the cost of entering into whatever they're going to.
Right, busing.
Just busing. If you need to get into something, you gotta pay for it.
Yeah, on top of that.
I just said, well,
Kristen.
I thought last last week we discussed, or Jack mentioned something about not having AP chemistry, but on page 1 it says there's an addition of .28 FTE for an AP chemistry teacher, so I just was confused about that
That
discussion
was
last
in
week
the year
versus this week.
before.
That was the year before,
Right.
okay, excuse me.
We're proposing to have it.
And so you wanna add it back again, okay, thank you.
Not the class trip, just field trips.
Yeah,
Senior
yeah,
class
okay.
trip is fully funded by donations and students.
Anything else? Nothing, Skip?
No.
So I would make a motion then that we approve the proposed, school budget, district budget as, proposed by the school board for the 2019-2020 school year for the high school of, $4,540,000, $676.
I'd like to second that in deference to Tim's correcting that sentence for me.
It's been made by Tim, seconded by Braggs. Is there any further discussion? Hold on.
This may be a Kirk question. The substitute, teachers of each one of the 3 schools, elementary school, I found that it's, 37,500. How many substitute does that cover, and how many days? And then in the middle school, maybe I should, send you this information.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, I just wanna find out how many days. There's 37,000 in the elementary school, there's 27,000 in the middle school, and there's 45,000 of substitute days.
So it's $75 per day for a substitute.
Right.
And then if we have, leaves, extended leaves for medical reasons, then that's a, different rate, and that's $218 per day, if it's an extended leave.
So basically, 2.6 teachers are out every day of the school year.
So I had done some math on this, it adds up to
Across the board.
$109,000 over the 3 schools,
Right.
which is less than 0.5% of the budget.
Anything else, Peter?
Okay.
In here, nothing. All those in favor of the motion made by Tim, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Now, did you want to go over what you dropped
I
out?
just wanted to hand
Yeah.
you one more thing out.
I can get my fingers to work.
So to be brief, this was, there was a question last week on the percentage of Gilmanton special education students in our school. And so I gave you, similar to what I gave you, for the breakdown of the Guilford, special education percentages. I gave you the percentage of Gilmanton students that are special education. And I also, there was a question of the per pupil cost for Winnisquam. And I gave you the per pupil cost of the Winnisquam agricultural program and the per pupil cost for the Laconia Hewitt program. And so those per pupil costs of $1,252.50 for the Winnisquam agricultural program is what it will be if the state pays its full share. Often the state doesn't pay its full share, and so that could fluctuate all the way up to $5,010 per student. But if you look back at what our expenditures over the last 3 years, of the VOTEC have been, we've been anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000, so, that's kind of what the cost of running students to those two programs has been.
Chris? Kirk, that number doesn't include the $50,000 bus that we transport those poor kids in, correct?
It does not include transportation. This is only for the cost to attend the program.
So again, the busing is
The busing
primary
is on
cost.
top of that. We send about 70 students, a little over 70 students to the Laconia program this year. And that's a pretty good number that we generally send over to Hewitt.
And they go over to the Hewitt for 2 blocks a day?
They're out of the building for 2 blocks, but they're there really for 1 block of instruction, I think, at the Hewitt.
So how much time is a block?
So it's different in Laconia than it is in Guilford, of course.
Government
It's 90 minutes, 90-minute block in Laconia and a 68-minute block in Guilford.
Why the difference?
We have 2 different schedules. They have a 4x4 block schedule in Laconia. We have a 5-period trimester schedule in Guilford.
Is there anything else to come before the committee? Any public comment? And Skip, when you present next week, are you gonna be wearing your suit and tie?
Absolutely not.
Okay, hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Peter, all those in favor? Aye.
Croc TV.